Hi, I'm Xane Daniel, and one of the things that I talk to my classes about is resistance. And you've probably heard the phrase, what you resist persists. I'd like to talk a lot about that, but we're going to just sum it up fairly quickly in this video. And I'll also be giving an activation to help you release the resistance you have to whatever it is that you're experiencing in your life right now. So let's go ahead and get started. What often happens is that we try to avoid pain. We certainly try to pursue pleasure all the time, but mostly we avoid pain. We do whatever it takes to try to circumnavigate pain or suffering in any way. And the problem with this approach is that in many cases we flee from it, we run from it, we fight against it. The fight against whatever it is, the war on drugs, for example, is a perfect one, because whatever we resist persists. The more that we fight against something, the more that it continues to happen to us. There's even a perfect example happening to me right now. The fact that I'm standing here, I'm a little bit south of Miami, right there you can see the city skyline of Miami. I really wanted to show that in the background of this video. But the sun is right here, as you can see, and it's pretty bright, and I would imagine that I look like I'm squinting a little bit. Well, I decided to go ahead and film this anyway because I really wanted that shot. And it turned out to be a perfect example of not having any resistance. I'm going to go ahead and accept the sun shining in my face at this moment, and I'm going to go ahead and show you what that looks like. Yeah, maybe it's not the perfect shot from that perspective, but we do get this. So here I am, just going ahead with it anyway. So if we turn and face what it is that's scaring us, that's torturing us, that's causing us to suffer, then what we'll often find is that it's fairly easy to move past it or to move through it. Picture it like the Indiana Jones scene where the boulder is rolling after him. If you notice at the very beginning of that shot, the boulder starts rolling down this ramp. Actually, Indy, all he would have to do is step forward and the boulder would roll right over his head. And it would be over. He would watch the boulder roll and then be able to follow it and get out on his own. But instead, he runs. And he runs from it and it continues to chase him and continues to chase him. This is what we often do. We often try to make it go away. Please make it stop. We don't want this anymore. Instead of just saying, you know what? What would it take? What would happen if I just went ahead and said, I'm ready for it? I've come here for a reason. I've come here to accept this challenge, to overcome this challenge. I very much intentionally wanted this for myself. And I run into this all the time. People get upset about this. They say, what? What are you talking about? I would never set this up for myself before I was born. I would never torture myself like this. Why would I ever have negative entity attachments? Or why would I have an abusive relationship or childhood traumas or physical maladies, whatever it might be? Well, I've talked about it before in other videos, but you essentially have soul confidence. Before you're born, you're sitting there going, hey, I can handle anything. I am an infinite being. And this brief experience of being a human on this planet is going to be over just like that. So I might as well open myself up and accept the different challenges that I'm going to have there. Because I'm going to be able to handle them. It's not going to be that big of a deal. It's actually going to be fairly easy for me. And that's what we thought before we were born, right? Well, then we get into this thing, having forgotten that we set this up for ourselves, and we go, oh my gosh, what have I done? Like, this is way more difficult, way more problematic than I must have ever thought. Well, in a sense, it wasn't. It was actually exactly what you thought. But you can look back to that version of yourself that said, I'm ready for that challenge. And you can use a little bit of that to face whatever it is that you're experiencing. So resistance is resisting the thing that you set up for yourself in the first place, whatever it might be. And for many of us, it's many different things that we've set up for ourselves. Why do we want to run all the time from whatever it is that we're trying to experience or are supposed to experience? Why don't we turn and face it and embrace it and appreciate it and experience it in all its nuance? When you realize that you're an infinite being and you get to come here as many times as you want to, and to yourself as your higher self, as your soul self, those experiences are over instantly. then we want to do all the possible experiences. We want to have them all. We want to have great, fun, joyful experiences, and we want to have challenging, difficult, excruciating experiences, because they're all valid. They're all part of our experience here on this planet. So what I find is that when I'm working with people with negative entity attachments, or depression, or PTSD, or any of these different things that people are suffering from that come to me, what I talk about is it's time to stop resisting what you're suffering from and turn to it and say, well, what is this experience? What is this truly that I'm experiencing? What is so bad about this? Oh, okay, well, this pain that I'm experiencing, physical pain is easy. I feel it in my arm, in my knee, in my chest, in my back, whatever it is. And you can really zoom in on that pain experience. And you can say, what does this feel like? How does this feel? Oh, it feels like that and it feels like this. In this moment, I can really feel that pain experience. And you could describe it to someone else, and you could really think about that pain experience. Well, it's just an experience. Yes, it's one that has a signature associated with it that is negative. That's a survival mechanism. And when you look at things in that way, you can start to say, well, when I really face it and try to understand it and allow it to surround me, then all of a sudden it becomes elusive. Oh, well, I've got a headache. What does this really feel like? Where is it at? Oh, it's on the right temporal lobe, blah, blah. Maybe you know this, maybe you don't. It's right in this particular spot. Well, wait a minute, it's kind of moving. Now it's in a different spot. Wait a minute, why is this happening? And so the next thing you know, you're chasing this pain all around, and it's nowhere near as severe as it was before, when you were just wishing that it was over. Oh my gosh, this headache is so bad. The same is true for emotional pain. Any emotional experience that you have has a pain signature, a negative signature associated with it. And if you check, it's somewhere located in your body most of the time. Sure, there's going to be mental experiences associated with it, but most of the time you're carrying this emotional burden with you in a physical way. You feel it as a weight, you feel it as a tightness, maybe you feel it as pain. There's so many different types of emotional pain. So if you zoom in on that, what does that actually feel like? Why does it feel this way? Oh, it must be because I'm a human, and humans are all about survival, just like all the animals and things on this planet. It's all about survival, right? Okay, so I'm experiencing this negative feeling because it behooves me and my species to feel that so that I don't do it again, so that I survive. When you can really be an explorer of this sort of thing, then all of a sudden it isn't about, oh, this horrible experience that I'm having. It's actually all about the exploration, the experience itself. And then you can even go ahead and observe yourself from the outside. Look down on yourself and say, in my case, look at Xane. Look at how he's handling this. Look at this experience that he's having. Oh, look, he's upset about it, he's disappointed in it, he's frustrated about it, he's impatient about it. How interesting. What an interesting being he is that he's experiencing all this. These are ways that you can turn toward the thing that you want to stop, and stop resisting and start accepting. Oh, okay, I'm accepting that I feel this way. Acceptance is a very powerful emotional experience. Most people don't even realize that acceptance is an emotion. But it is. If you say, oh, okay, I'm feeling guilt over this past experience. Well, that's a natural human experience. I understand what that is and why I would experience that. I'm no different than any other human. Humans would experience this guilt thing. I must be just like them. And so when you go into an acceptance experience, you are opening yourself up to, oh, this is an emotion. This is a valid experience. There's a relief that comes from acceptance. Well, isn't that interesting? Because that is essentially an emotional experience about your negative emotional experience. Well, if you look at the emotional frequency chart or the map of consciousness by David R. Hawkins, what you'll find is acceptance is the first emotion that is actually a positive emotional experience after all the negatives are much lower in rank or in vibration or in frequency. As you move up the frequency chart, the first positive emotion is acceptance. I can accept the fact that I'm in pain. I can accept the fact that I'm suffering. I accept it. I don't resist it. I don't run from it. I'm not impatient about it. I'm not frustrated by it. I'm not any of those things. That moves your frequency very quickly from being surrounded by this lower frequency experience and moving up to a high frequency experience. Yes, it's just the first one, but it's a huge one because it can replace so many lower vibrational emotions with acceptance, and acceptance is really quite the good thing. It does help overall. So then you can move up the chart even further. You can start to say, all right, well, I can have a positive belief or optimism about this negative experience. Oh, that feels pretty good. I betcha this isn't going to last forever. I know it won't. I'm an infinite being. Even if it lasted the rest of my life here on this planet, I will eventually go into a post-life experience where I return to being an infinite being, and that will be over. Okay, so I can handle this for a little bit longer, but most of the time, it's not that at all. It's just going to be for an hour, maybe a week, maybe a year, but most of the time we get over those things. And when we decide that we're going to get over those things, that it isn't going to last forever, then it doesn't. But when we sit there and go, oh my gosh, this is never going to end, I'm never going to get this, I'm never going to get that, well then you are setting yourself up for that situation, that inevitability. You are creating, you are manifesting that you won't get over it. So moving into an optimistic state, I'm sure this isn't going to last forever, is very powerful. You can be excited. You can say, oh, I'm excited about this experience. I'm excited about getting over this. I'm excited about developing a new version of myself post this experience. There's so many ways. I can be grateful for this experience because what it's bringing me, the lessons that I'm learning, the opportunities that I'm getting. I can have unconditional love for the experience and myself for all those same reasons. I keep sliding over to the side because the tide is rising and so the water is now completely dousing my feet, my sandals. I'm unfortunately not on a beach, so I guess I'm resisting the water as it comes toward me, so I should embrace it fully and just step right in. There we go. Okay, well, right now what I would like to do is provide for you an activation that will open you up to the possibility of acceptance and help you drop some of your resistance. So go ahead and close your eyes and take a nice big deep breath. How my activations work is I'm going to say breath in, and when I do, you'll take a nice big deep breath, you'll hold it at the top, and you'll wait for me to say the word awaken, kind of explosively, and then you can exhale. So I want you to picture what it is that you're resisting. Think for a minute about all the experiences that you have been having, but there's one that's really driving you crazy, that you really wish was just over. You're pushing yourself, you're fighting against it, you're running from it, whatever it is. And I want you to turn and face it. Picture yourself, picture the thing that you're resisting as like a tidal wave or that rock in Indiana Jones. And picture yourself just saying, you know what, tidal wave, you know what, rock, I'm ready for you. I can handle whatever it is that's coming for me. And as you turn and face that, and you have the fear of, oh my gosh, this rock is going to smash me, this wave is going to dash me against the ground, realize that it won't, that you will be okay. And as you picture this, and as we do the activation, I want you to watch as that tidal wave and that rock starts to disintegrate or just phase out and become a cloud. Turning and facing. Breath in. Oh, good. And watch as that wave or that rock just fades away and you are almost bracing yourself. Wait, is it gonna happen? No, it wasn't that bad after all. I can accept this experience that I'm in right now, it doesn't feel too bad at all. When you're ready to accept instead of resist, to embrace all of your experiences, no matter how terrible, difficult, or painful they might be, when you're ready for all of that, then you can open your eyes. Thank you so much for participating in that activation. It thrills me to be able to do this, and I love seeing your comments and your questions. And if you could, please go ahead and like and subscribe and all that fun stuff. Click the bell icon, all that jazz. And of course, you can always download more activations off my website. There are some free ones that you can get, and one of my favorites is a nervousness relief activation. And on my website, there's every emotional experience, there's a relief activation associated with it. So you can find a link to all of that in the description below. So thanks again. I'm standing now even more deep in water as it continues to climb. So thank you for watching me face the sun, face the water, and not have any resistance to the various experiences that we get to have here on this planet. I love you unconditionally, and I'll see you in the next video.